Wait.
All right, so if you don't know our best and worst segment, we do it on Monday. It's one best and worst. We each pick one of each. I explained that horribly in college football. So a best in college football, a worst in college football, a best in the NFL, and the worst in the NFL. Let's start with college.
Now I'm confused.
We'll go around. Just let it happen. You know what I'm saying? Just close your eyes. It'll work out. All right, let's go around the room. All right, first, my best in college football. No, I talked about him earlier. Kansas?
Yes.
Come on, guys. Clicking our heels together and kicking ass? Whoever thought that would happen? Let's look at a couple things. First off, you go to West Virginia and win a game. Mm-hmm. That's not an easy place to play. They burn couches and hide in hills. Second play, you go to Houston, Clayton McToon. They got a big win over UTSA in overtime, a good quality program that's going to the Big 12. So that's 2 huge road wins. Back-to-back road wins, first time since 2007. I mean, what was 2007? That wasn't an Orange Bowl, was it? That was before that. Then, now, big game this weekend. You got Duke at the crib. Kansas and Duke, Mike Elko.
Both 3-0?
Both 3-0. I mean, you would think it was a Final Four. Who would have thought that Kansas and Duke in football would have mattered? You talk about doomsday prepper, looking around, wondering what's going on. Kansas and Duke playing a meaningful football game? I love it. Sign me up for that. So shout out Lance Leipold coming, literally the job he's done at Kansas, transforming. There's some teams that are Cinderellas that fluke around and find a couple ways to win, and they get destroyed the rest of the year, right? Early, you're like, all right, well, this could be a Cinderella, but I'm not 100% sure. I have watched Kansas play 2 games. I've watched play at West Virginia and at Houston. Kansas is a good football team. They are a very good football team, especially coming from where they came. I'm not saying they're going to win the Big 12, but I tell you what, guys, watching this with Daniels at quarterback and some of the weapons they have, do not be shocked if Kansas wins 8 games. Do not be shocked.
Can you imagine that? I mean, before the season, if I had told you Kansas was going to win 8 games this season.
Shocking. I would have looked at you and been like, all right, where's the real David Cone?
I mean, even that road at West Virginia, because that spread was what, 13.5? I think I even had West Virginia. They're like, forget covering.
Well,
we're gonna win and cover.
It's one thing to go grab like a crazy win during the year and go 1-11.
Sure. Like Texas. When they beat Texas.
That's exactly right. It's another thing to start out the way they've started out. Now you talk about confidence and you're looking at the rest of that conference. It's going to be interesting. Now my worst, it's Auburn. It's Auburn. And again, I don't want to stick on it too long. There's 2 main pillars of coaching. Bringing in talent, whether that's recruiting from high school, whether that's in the transfer portal, and keeping it there. The second is being able to coach and develop in-game, schematically, prepare, hiring the right strength guy, doing the things, setting up the system, getting the blueprint, getting the culture where you need to it. Auburn is bad at both right now. And 2 things can be true at once. Firing Gus Malzahn was the right decision, because what the offensive line he left Auburn with, and really the way the trajectory it was going down, that was a good move, and that can be true. Brian Harsin not being able to get the job done can also be true. And at the beginning, I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. I always do. I was in the profession. It's tough. Guy took a chance going from one spot to another. It's obvious that he can't do it. He can't do it. And people say, oh, well, it's still not enough time. You had a full year. You knew the problems at Auburn. Offensive line personnel is just not good. They're not good at playing football. It's the truth. At this level, okay? Quarterback position. Who do you bring in? Zach Calzada, TJ Finley, Robbie Ashford. None of them can play. None of them can play. Calzada's 3rd string behind what we've seen. He must be really hurt then. He must be secretly hurt. Holden Geriner's the best one on the roster. You might as well have played him. I'll give you credit because you signed him, but you're having to rely on true freshmen out there in the SEC. It's not going to work. You brought those guys in. So you didn't bring anybody in the offensive line. You didn't bring in a quarterback that was worth the flip when a ton of them were in the portal. That's on you. And you're not recruiting well. You had a big weekend. Here's your chance to go on the field and show what's up. You play sloppy. You can't have bad players and play sloppy. Mm-hmm. You literally get outclassed, out-efforted, which is inexcusable by Penn State. And you got embarrassed at home in a place I've never seen Auburn get embarrassed like that. Yeah. You're gonna have to fire him, because here's the problem. It's not gonna get better. Mm-hmm. There's no magic spell book. There's no recipe to fix what the problem is at Auburn right now. Missouri, Auburn will probably win. It will be somewhat of a close game. I think Auburn will win. LSU should beat Auburn, unless LSU plays horribly. And then the gauntlet begins. Yeah. To Georgia, to Ole Miss, to Mississippi State, Arkansas at home. it could get really bad, but there's no fixing it. You could have done stuff in the portal. And I get it wasn't easy. But you know what? When you're making that amount of money, it shouldn't be easy. Did the thing that the boosters did with Harsin, was it right? Was it right? Was it handled the right way? No. Could they end up being right? Could the boosters end up being correct? Yes. And it's actually looking that way.
Yeah, especially when, for Auburn fans, it's tough when you look around the country and you see other schools who don't have the cachet Auburn does have more success.
Yeah.
You look at what the Sun Belt's able to do, going and beating Power 5 programs. We talked about Syracuse. We talked about what Kansas is doing, even what Washington is building. I mean, some of these schools are having so much success right now in games that they shouldn't be competitive in. That's what makes it tough, I think, if you're an Auburn fan.
It's true. It's just it's sad at this point.
Blaine, best and worst.
You go ahead.
Okay. One of yours wasn't Oregon, was it?
No.
Okay. So my best from college football was going to be Syracuse, but we already touched on it.
Yep.
And again, it's not just some one-off win over Purdue. The way they beat Louisville was very impressive, but we already talked about Syracuse. So why don't I go ahead and take Oregon real quick? Because we had a lot of questions. 49-3, you get stomped by Georgia in the opener. How good is this Oregon team? Was Bo Nix the sole problem at Auburn? There was all sorts of questions that we had. But to beat this BYU team, this isn't just some win. This just isn't some home win that, just a casual victory. This was an excellent BYU team. We were talking about them last week. If this team were to run the table with the schedule they have, they should be given a shot at a playoff. BYU is bigger at many position groups than Oregon is. BYU is very disciplined. To go out and beat this BYU team the way Oregon was, I think that is a fantastic win before they enter conference play, because you're still going to have possibly a Utah maybe in the conference championship. We talked about Washington. You're going to have Oregon State. These games, this was a great win for an Oregon team.
I think it says a lot about how good Georgia is, too. This is why I was saying don't hop off the Oregon bandwagon just yet.
Yeah. All right. Worst for college football, I have to go to Nebraska. And a lot of people may say, well, we've already known that Nebraska's had a lot of problems. We've written the season off. We already got rid of Scott Frost. But to me, here's my thing. When you have an opening drive the way they did against Oklahoma, I really thought, and we were talking with Tim Brando about this, I thought this would be a situation where a group of young men rally around the interim head coach, circle the wagons for your recently fired head coach in Scott Frost, and play an old school rival close at home.
Mm-hmm. You got nothing to lose.
You're in Lincoln. That's a bitter rivalry. You have nothing to lose. And then you came out and you showed you can do it. That was an excellent first opening drive. You score a touchdown, you get up early. To not be able to keep that game competitive down the stretch, I just think, it says that they're unable to do it. They just don't have the guys, they don't have the players, and I don't know what the rest of the season is going to look like for them. Luckily, they are in the Big Ten West, so it's a little bit easier of a schedule moving forward, but not a great performance.
Somebody had a great tweet on social media. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was in the fourth quarter when they were getting destroyed. Nebraska was by Oklahoma, and they're like, you know what? Scott Frost would have never let this happen. He'd have been up by 4 going into the fourth quarter and found a way to lose the game. Because it's so true. Wow. It's so true. Well, think about it. I'm not saying Scott Frost should still be there, but he would find, it's almost worse. I would rather get beat like Nebraska got beat by Oklahoma like that than lose the way Scott Frost does in Nebraska. Because then I've wasted even more energy. I cared for way longer than what I should have.
Hey, Nebraska fans were still in the seats, though.
Of course.
You can't take anything. Hey, they were still in the seats, man.
You know what? Hey, Nebraska, don't go get Hugh Freeze now. I think there's another spot Hugh Freeze
Look,
may end up.
we all know who Nebraska needs to go get. We all know. You go get Brian Harsin.
You go get Brian Harsin?
Nebraska.
I think Arizona State may go
perfect
get Brian
fit.
Harsin. Perfect fit. That is
Scott Frost, Brian Harsin, Spider-Man Jeff.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Don't be wrong. Let's be honest here. I mean, they're the same people. Auburn, Hugh Freeze, maybe Prime.
No, Prime is not going to Auburn.
Why not?
Trying to get
trying to make it thing.
I will not stop. I will put it in the atmosphere until it becomes true.
Like Gretchen Wieners, dude.
Don't look at me and say Wieners on a Monday. All right, please don't. All right, my best and worst. My best is Penn State.
Yeah?
Penn State. What do you always hear? All right, you're going down to the South, the SEC. Physicality up front.
Auburn's not an SEC.
Front.
That's not an SEC team.
Auburn's not?
Not this year, no.
Okay,
that
but still, they are. You can say they're not, but if you pull up the teams in the SEC, Auburn's going to be one of those teams.
If you beat Vandy, are you really
Are you comparing Auburn to Vandy?
Right now, personnel-wise?
Have we far
Right now, personnel-wise, it's not that far off.
Hey, my first college game was against Vandy.
You want to know how bad it is?
Want to know.
That's how bad it is. Vanderbilt, Auburn, neutral site. Really, what's that score? What's that score?
The under's hitting.
What's that score?
say 14.5 spread.
Wait,
Well,
Auburn and Vandy?
If Auburn played Vandy, what's Auburn winning?
Auburn
24-14?
I would say
31-10.
31-10, 31-7.
At least Vanderbilt's smart.
Yeah, I know, but still. But I'm saying, so we didn't know, certain people knew Auburn was that bad, but a lot of people didn't know. But Penn State, they came in and dominated in the trenches. On every level of a college football game, from the trainers, to the equipment people, to the coaches, to the players, they dominated the game. They went a long way to somewhere where they said they weren't physical enough and whipped their ass. So, and my second one is Troy. It's Troy's prevent team.
I don't think anybody's
Was that the worst?
I don't think that's good. I don't think anybody's saying the Big Ten isn't physical. I think where people say the difference in the SEC and the Big Ten is speed and size. It's not the Big Ten. I think of the Big Ten, I think of cold, physical, running teams, play action. I don't think of Maryland when I think of the Big Ten. You know what I'm saying? I think of Iowa. I think of Michigan. I think of Ohio State, Michigan State. I don't think the difference between the SEC and the Big Ten is physicality. It's that the SEC has more bigger players.
We don't say
faster.
that SEC is when it comes is different in the trenches, right? When anybody talks about the SEC, that's physicality.
Yes, because they mix size and speed. Speed, I guess you could say, is physicality. But I don't think Penn State went down there thinking, oh no, Auburn's bigger than we. There's size-wise, Wisconsin is bigger than most of the teams.
I'm saying the concept in general of the SEC is faster, stronger, more physical than anybody else in the conference. That's anybody else in the nation. That's what they say about the SEC.
As a
and
mix.
The same thing whether it's Auburn or Vanderbilt, I understand, but I mean that's the general narrative when you go play an SEC team on the road, and Penn State was the more physical team.
Yeah,
and then Troy and prevent on defense. Back the ball down. It's not tough. You sit in a room. I know the coaches told you what to do. You have to be up. Don't go for the pick. The guy went for the pick. Just bat the ball down. And if you bat it down, they catch it in the end zone, then hell, man. You can't do anything about it. But don't jump and try to catch the ball. You're winning. This was the most Troy thing I've ever
He was like a
seen.
libero in volleyball. He's like, here.
We should have seen this coming. Troy has a history of this. You know, they'll be up, they'll be winning the whole war, and then all of a sudden there's a wooden horse on the beach, and they let it in, and Achilles comes out and he kills you. Okay, and that was at home.
It's Orlando.
Troy couldn't finish that one.
It's Orlando Bloom's fault. We all know.
You know,
Are you saying App State pulled out the wooden horse on him last play? That's such an App State thing to do.
Are we splitting hairs here?
What does he say? He's like, this whole time I thought you were my Sam Wise. Turns out you're just Boromir.
Again, I wish I could laugh at that, but I don't know what Boromir
By the way, I
does.
did watch the first episode of the new Lord of the Rings show on Prime.
Is it good?
I heard it's trash.
What? You think everything?
Those are the reviews
I do not.
too.
I do not think
Really?
I've heard
Really?
it is trash.
I watched the first
Now I
35
refuse
minutes
to watch
of
it
it
because I don't
and fell
want
asleep.
to. I don't want it to
But
get ruined.
it was pretty
for me.
good.
Like, I have certain images of what the Lord of the Rings is.
You shall not pass.
You know, they'll probably make Gandalf gay.
Best and worst NFL?
Yes. All right. Here's my best. Never thought I'd say this. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm alive. Oh, I am. The Giants are 2-0. Kansas 2-0 or 3-0. Duke's 3-0. Giants are 2-0.
I don't know what's going on.
And it's not like they're out there just, Brian Daboll's just found like the elixir of explosive offense, but the Giants have won 2 games in different ways. I got to give a shout out to the defense. Saquon Barkley goes nuts game 1. You find a way against the Titans with the defense. You give up 20 points against the Titans, basically shut Derrick Henry down. Then you play the Panthers. And look, I know the Panthers aren't winning any awards on offense, but you've had to go through Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey the first 2 weeks, and you haven't given up 21 points yet. So the Giants are pretty good on defense. They found ways late in the game on offense, whether it's Daniel Jones and them scoring late, getting the 2-point conversion, then against the Panthers, driving the ball down the field, setting yourself up for a field goal to win the game. I mean, there's a lot of good that happened in the NFL. I can go through it. There's a ton of good. But the Giants, undefeated right now. Brian Daboll, man, that Nick Saban coaching tree just keeps on just sprouting branches and leaves, and animals are landing on it, making nests, and they're having other animals.
The
and
animals
stuff.
today.
Yeah, it's an Animal Monday.
I don't know why this is becoming a thing, but I guess it is.
But no, guys, the Giants, I mean, we got to show some love. Again, winning, they're able to win in multiple ways, and they're playing good defense. And Daniel Jones just isn't blowing it. He's making the plays that are good enough. It's what do we say? Be the difference, not the reason. That's why we say that. So that's my worst, the Colts. What's going on?
What happened?
I know Michael Pittman Jr.'s hurt, But Matt Ryan, that offense, the offensive line
Looks bad.
it's so bad right now. It's about as bad as it gets. I do want to say this real quick. Giants 2-0, first time in 6 years. The Colts, the Jags are 6-30 in their last 36 games. 4 of those wins against the Colts.
Oh.
What's going on? The Jags have won 8 straight against the Colts at home. And remember, last year, they kept the Colts out of the playoffs because they beat him at the end of the season when Carson Wentz was the quarterback, and then he goes over there to be the captain of the Commanders. That makes sense. Dan, what's crazy about the Colts, they are averaging like 2.4 points a quarter. 2.4 points a quarter. Y'all got shut out by the Jags?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about South Alabama, who's got a good defense. Should have beat UCLA. Kane, stop faking field goals when you don't need to. But the Colts, absolute 5-alarm fire in Indianapolis right now. I don't care if you do have Michael Pittman. And man, I'll tell you what, Jonathan Taylor, first overall pick. Woo! They struggling. Not struggling, they struggling.
They struggling.
With the K.
All right. Well,
that's a totally different type of playing bad.
That's a whole different
He didn't
level.
struggle week 1. I know that. I played against him at 170 yards and 2 tits.
You talking
Touchdowns,
about?
excuse me.
Yeah, we know.
TDs.
Talking about Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My best from the NFL, the Cardinals. And Kyler Murray more.
Oh,
Look, I've been hard on Kyler Murray, but man, watching him move around the pocket and make some of those plays, I could not believe it.
He's my
I
fantasy
could not
quarterback,
believe it.
and my relationship with Kyler Murray from the first half to the
Strengthened
second half
to the second half?
was
Get used to it.
totally
It'll be
different.
the whole year.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah, no, incredible performance there. And then a bonus best is Aiden Hutchinson, Michigan boy, drafted number 2 to the
sacks?
Lions. 3 sacks against Washington as a rookie. But this is why I added it on. He dedicated the game to 5-year-old Hudson Ghazi, who is battling leukemia in Michigan. Thought that was a cool thing. And
The Lions look pretty good.
yeah.
Like
The sun god, Amari St.
Dan
Brown.
Campbell, maybe them just freaking out and everybody yelling at everybody 24/7 is working.
Look, man, if you watch, I got to watch the Hard Knocks on them this year. Really good. I
Competitive.
really like Dan Campbell, man. He's one of those guys like you one of those guys like if you choose to play for a guy, you would.
It isn't
Sure.
fake. It isn't fake
No.
with Dan Campbell.
No.
Some guys fake it. Oh, I'm a hard ass. Oh, we're going to do this. I'm willing to do whatever you're doing. Dan Campbell go out there and play right now.
Oh yeah, he was.
Look at him. He was like a giant walking around the sidelines.
He's the type of guy who wouldn't ask you to do anything that he hasn't already
That's
done.
exactly right.
exactly.
you know?
And that's another.
I'm like, dude, go kill the terrorists.
Yeah.
All right.
Like you just
now-
drop Dan Campbell
Chase
over
his
and
deers down.
Yeah.
you just drop Dan Campbell in some like conflict.
That's a sign.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to stop saying that.
Yeah, will you stop doing this?
I'm going to stop saying it because
Yeah,
when people
for
lose
sure.
games, and it's my fault.
sure.
My worst from the NFL this weekend: the AFC North. Browns collapse, up 30-17 with 1:55 remaining. They collapse. Ravens fall apart, up 35-14. Tua's like, "Hey, who's in the end zone I can hit? Oh, both of y'all here. I'll pick this one." Steelers have no offense.
None.
Steelers have no offense, and then the Bengals. I'm tired of watching it. I am tired of watching it. It's been the most disappointing performance from the Bengals. And, you know, I know that they have offensive line troubles, and you can blame a lot of the sacks and the pressures on the offensive line, but I'm telling you right now, a lot of this is on Joe Burrow. You have to get the ball out of your hands quicker. I know there's only one Aaron Rodgers, but when you look at what Aaron Rodgers is able to do in terms of getting the ball out of his hands quick, that is a template that every quarterback should follow, especially when you know you have situation on the offensive line that isn't perfect. You have weapons on offense. This is the thing. You have weapons on offense. Get them the ball. Right now, the Bengals offense looks like a deer in headlights.
Yeah, it's extremely.
I mean, it is
everything's
bad.
tough.
When you look at how bad that Cowboys team is, I mean, you are getting beat by a Cowboys where the quarterback is Cooper Rush. Look, I
Hey,
wouldn't
you
have
put
known,
some respect.
I wouldn't have known.
Red Kirk Cousins.
I wouldn't have known who Cooper Rush was if he walked in here with a shirt that said, "I am Cooper Rush."
Yeah.
Okay. And the
wouldn't either.
Bengals just lost to them.
Yeah, it's bad.
Look,
Like we're trying to throw Jamar Chase every play. I mean, the Cowboys.
No, throw it to
throw it
Jamar
to
Chase
him every
more.
He was
play.
bracketed the entire
I know
game.
he was
The
bracketed.
Cowboys
I know he was
bracketed
bracketed.
the
Here's one
entire
thing I
game.
was thinking about that. He was bracketed on the outside, and I know Jamar Chase is a true X. They were trying to get him in the slot more. When he's in the slot more, he's able to maneuver and you can get him the ball more. But here's my thing on it. Throw that guy the ball even when he's double covered, because every single time that they try and get the ball to Jamar Chase, he catches a ball for a big.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't think they got the ball to Joe Mixon enough in the passing game, too. If you watch when the Bengals are having a lot of success, Mixon isn't just bullying it in the run. He's catching swings. He not even just checkdowns, whether it's angle routes. Joe Mixon is really nice catching the ball out of the backfield and picking up steam. I know T. Higgins.
Oh, you
is
got
hurt.
T. Higgins. You got T played. T. Higgins.
I know he's
and he was getting the ball.
T. Higgins,
Yeah,
you have
I know,
Tyler
but he's
Boyd,
a
you
little
have
beat
Hayden
up.
Hurst. You have to throw them out of doubling Jamar.
Yep.
You have to. You have the guys. You got Joe Mixon at running back. You have the guys. Tyler Boyd is a great receiver. T. Higgins, big guy, played huge in the playoffs. Hayden Hurst, extremely good tight end. I would think an upgrade from they had last year. Hayden could be a problem. You have to throw them out of the bracket on Jamar. Every team's going to force you to beat you with other guys than Jamar. I know Jamar's a top 3 receiver, top 5 receiver, but still, Cone, you really think they should force balls into double coverage?
Not necessarily. I think every play, you should do whatever's best on that specific play.
sure.
I do think that when it's clutch time and it's third down, you need to figure out a way to get that guy the ball, because I've seen him make plays so far this season and last season that it doesn't. If you put the ball in your best player's vicinity after it hasn't worked elsewhere, that oftentimes will lead to success. But that's not their biggest problem, because he was hitting other guys. That's not their biggest problem. The problem right now is Joe Burrow in the pocket. Looks like a deer in headlights. Not all his fault, but it's also not all the offensive line's fault. Get him on the move. Roll him out. Get the tunnel screen game going a little bit more. Get Jamar Chase going like that, where double coverage isn't a big of a factor. It's disappointing to watch.
Yeah, I tell you, it's one of those times where you're talking about sometimes you just got to give your best player the ball. Like, I don't know, maybe in the Super Bowl on 4th down, but you throw an angle route to Samaje Perine.
There's an
Maybe
example.
You throw to Jamar Chase then.
Bring me your playbook. Anyways, all right, my best and worst, I remember that too. So my worst was the Ravens defense in the second half.
Ooh.
What a collapse.
Fell apart.
What a collapse.
Jalen Waddle.
I believe you're up 35-14 with 6 minutes left to go in the third.
Blaine, there's been 712 instances where a team has been up in 21 points in the fourth quarter in the NFL. Only one team has ever came back and won. That was the Dolphins yesterday.
How do you not guard Tyreek Hill?
Or Jalen Waddle. They didn't guard anybody.
They were letting Tyreek Hill just running deep, and they're like,
We have it.
yeah, and it made no sense. I don't get it.
Let's run the clip. Let's run the clip. Here's Tua throwing for his 900 passing yards yesterday.
Yeah, where's Kyle Hamilton messing up at?
Yeah. How is Tyreek Hill that open?
What is going on?
You might want to guard him.
What
in
is
that
going
situation? There's one thing that you are not doing to me if I'm playing the Dolphins. I will put both safeties at the goal line before I let you do it. And look, Kyle Hamilton, we talked about his hips, right? Coming out of college, a lot of questions. Can he turn and burn? Not really.
It's just I didn't expect this from a really experienced, somewhat defense for the Ravens. You know, like there's a lot of defenses in the NFL that I would think to see this from, but the Ravens would not be one of them. After the game, you watch Lamar Jackson. You know how much money Lamar Jackson made against the Dolphins after that performance? And still, it just blew my mind. Watching this game blew my mind. You could tell the Dolphins were going to win this game.
Well, again,
when it got late, you could tell that ball started rolling. Like
when you have two guys that can run like that, but still, there's no excuse with the Ravens.
Yeah, so my best was the Jets.
Yes.
This game was
Jets
wild.
and Giants, both in the bets. What's going on?
First of all, Nick Chubb on your third touchdown, you could have went down and y'all won the game. But you know what? Now I'm glad y'all lost because y'all play you in fantasy, and you're selfish. All right, you're selfish. You should have won.
You know what's funny? It's funny because obviously that helped me because I'm playing him.
Yeah.
But when he scored that third touchdown, I was like, okay, that's good for my fantasy team. But I had the under in this game.
Dude, I know it's such a hard thing.
There's
when you
too
have
many
bets
things
out
going
and then you
on.
have fantasy guys. That's
Joey Flack, Wilson played really good from Ohio State. The first receiver. Garrett Wilson taking in the
him
draft.
and Drake London both.
Yeah, he had 30 points on my bench in one league, which I'm pretty excited about. But you know, the Jets got a lot of things rolling. Their defense did not do good stopping the run at all. And Nick Chubb had 3 touchdowns, I believe, 85 plus yards rushing. But they didn't quit. Right, they didn't quit. And I said a lot about the Jets. And Joe Flacco looking pretty nice.
That last drive
was
fourth quarter
clutch, man.
Joe Flacco was out there throwing dots. Now look, are the Jets going to win a ton of games with Joe Flacco? No. But the Browns, you give up that onside kick. It just everything had to go right. And I feel good for Robert Saleh, the coach for the Jets.
Me too.
Who the Giants win and the Jets lose and look like the Jets. And he's like, oh, we're keeping receipts. And everybody's like, keep all the receipts. Y'all are trash. And he's like, well, we'll just go to Cleveland and watch them implode. By the way, with the Browns, they had that new logo, the Brownie the Elf, on the field. Got to take it off.
What was
One
that?
game, got to take it off. After the way that went down, you got to burn every piece of merchandise that Brownie the Elf thing is on. You've got to bury that thing.
Agreed.
You know how they put like time capsules at schools? They're like, all right, we're going to bury this under the flagpole, and then we're going to open it up 100 years later. That's what y'all need to do with Brownie the Elf.
Or don't even do that, just burn it.
You need to take all of it and put it down there, and then maybe 100 years from now, when everybody's wearing flags in football and we're all speaking Chinese, y'all can go back and dig it up and remember Brownie the Elf and how the Jets kicked an onside kick.
If you like that content, go ahead and subscribe because we're going to be balling every day on Crane & Company. Hit that like button while you're at it and go ahead and smash it like Derrick Henry on an ISO run.